Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Unlicensed Counselor. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor. As always, so grateful to be here on a blistering day in the sixth floor here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, aka the surface of hell right now. It is just brutal out here. I think I mentioned last show, you just get to this point where you're like, okay, enough. Okay, enough. Like, I get it. It's hot. I think we've all kind of collectively reached that point out here in the great state of Arizona. But I tell you, one of the beautiful parts of Arizona is, and I don't know how well people know the state. Like in the wintertime, you could shoot up to Flagstaff. You could go ski in the morning, drive back down here, and go hit the lake in the afternoon. I mean, we have kind of this diversity in our state, which I think makes it really unique and pretty cool. But we are in that grind time right now, getting ready to roll into August, kids going back to school, and it is just hot, 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 and getting hotter, but the end is in sight. The end is in sight, the end is in sight, and the reason why we live here will be here before we know it, and we can put on those comfy sweatshirts and put on a pair of jeans without feeling like you're sweating through your entire outfit as you would now. I think jeans should be illegal right now or whatever pants at this point in time in the state. Anyways, thanks for being with me wherever you're at. Again, thanks for all the support we see on our Instagram and social following and for the number of downloads that we're seeing too. Just want to say a quick thank you to everybody for introducing this to their friends, letting them know about, hey, there's this interesting guy who's kind of talking about behavioral health, mental health, counseling topics in kind of bite-sized way. That's what we're about. I really try and give you solution-focused counseling ideas, thoughts, concepts, take big topics, boil it down, and hopefully be able to help you have discussions with loved ones. I always encourage folks to take this podcast, send it to somebody. You just hit those three little dots, and you can send an episode directly to somebody and be like, hey, it's 30 minutes. Like, listen to it. How do you feel about that? Is this guy crazy? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Maybe we could talk about this over dinner, over coffee. And, I've talked to people who have done that, or they'll text me or email me and say, hey, this was really great, or I didn't agree with that point. And again, I'm helping foster a conversation, right? Hopefully a productive conversation, but it's at least moving the needle forward, right? So, today I want to talk about something that's going to affect, I think, statistically 50% of you, which is co-parenting, which is AKA means you've gotten divorced, right? More than likely, or maybe you were never married. That's a potential possibility as well, too. But you have kids with somebody that you're not with anymore, whether that's through divorce or you're never married. I mean, really, I think for the context of this conversation, I'm going to keep it focused primarily on you're divorced and now you've got to raise kids together, what that looks like, share some of my experiences, share what I've seen work, because I have actually, in my previous relationship, I was married and my wife had two kids. They were my stepkids. Going to make sure I get that right. I came into their life at 2 and 7, and then left their life at 10 and 15. So I've got a pretty interesting perspective in a boy and girl on what that looks like, the different stages, being the quote unquote third wheel in that co-parenting, and what I did, what I wouldn't do, and things that hopefully you can do better as you're going into your co-parenting situation now. And now as a single dad, what it looks like dating, with people who either A, have kids or don't have kids, and how you can help prepare those folks as to things they might expect, or, your approach. And I do think it's really important to share your approach and what you think co-parenting would, could, and should look like, because one of the things that bit me in the rumpus was not getting super clear on this early on. And ultimately, I do think it was probably the largest contributing factor to me filing for divorce from my ex-wife, which is frustrating. And it had nothing to do with the kids. Kids are outstanding. I love them very much to this day and wish I could see them more. But, with divorce comes certain things, and all those things as you're getting into it. But before we get into all that fun stuff, I want to continue to thank our friends at ShareTech. Last week, I think I mentioned that drug use was at an all-time high. It is. Google it, research it. It is through the roof. 1979 was the previous high point. We are now above that. Fentanyl and how it kills everyone gets all the news, but all drugs are now at an all-time use as well, too. What does that mean for you? It means you need to be a little more proactive, right, in your own life, whether it's your husband or wife or your kids, right? And with ShareTech, we've invented and created a cheat-proof drug and alcohol screen, right? Go to betterdrugtest.com, pick up one of these tests. It's $100. We're going to ship it right to your front door. It requires no observed collection, right? Through a very unique process that we have videos and pamphlets for that you can go through it. You take that sample, you send it off to a lab. That lab will process for over 100 plus substances, drugs and alcohol, and it will tell you the levels of those substances as well too. Why is that important? Because you're going to know what and how that person is using, right? No more of I only had a drink or I only had a smoke or a snort or a pill. You will know that there are significantly higher levels given the ShareTech drug test. Go to betterdrugtest.com. Don't be the one wondering woulda, coulda, shoulda. Be proactive. Go to betterdrugtest.com. Pick up that test right now. You won't be sorry that you did. You'll be glad that you did it sooner rather than later. And as always, our friends at EasySheets.club, the most comfortable, relaxing subscription sheet service there is. Really, I can know that because nobody else is doing it. Easy Sheets has done a really cool job of creating a unique service where you get to pick out the sheet, how often you want it cleaned, pressed, and shipped directly to your front door. Bag up the old ones, put them in, drop them off at any post office, UPS, wherever. They get shipped back, professionally cleaned and pressed, and then sent back to you as well, too. Really a fun subscription service, right? I know everybody likes their coffee and the wine month of the club and all that kind of good stuff. What about your sheets? I mean, we're going to save you time. You're not stripping them off and now having to fold them, and then they come out super wrinkled, and you got socks stuck in there and the lint thing, and you're putting them on. They're still wet. Or it's Sunday night, now you're doing it, and you're like, crap, I don't want to put it on, I'm tired, and you're sleeping on your bare mattress. We've heard it all. Easy Sheets, you don't have to worry about that. You'll also know that they'll always be professionally cleaned and ready for you, so you don't have to wonder, has it been a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months or more, right? We got folks going off to college. I don't think those college folks are quite changing them with the frequency that they probably need to. So go to EasySheets.club, enjoy it, it's fun, pick out the sheets that you want. Like I always say, Carry Loha, white, bamboo. You're going to thank me, and the person sleeping next to you is going to thank you as well, too. Last couple points. You find me at theunlicensedcounselor.com. You want to book some time with me. You've heard me. You like it. You don't like it. Want to dig into things. I'm happy to spend more time with you one-on-one. Just book some appointments through the website directly. And then also our new youth drug prevention campaign that you're going to be hearing more and more from me kicking off with my group of co-founders based here in the Valley. But our mission is to prevent youth drug abuse. You know, drug prevention works when you do it. This country has gotten away from it. We got away from DARE. This is your brain on drugs. For a litany of reasons, it became uncool, and we're bringing that back because it's too important not to be doing this, and we are going to be the nationwide voice. Our organization is called Hard Stop. Go to thestopstartshere.org. Watch some of our content. Sign up. Follow us on social media. That's the most important thing you can do. And we're going to start asking for donations so we can get our message to your kids' ears before the drug dealers do. So, keep following us. Just follow us on social media. The rest will kind of take care of itself. That's if you do one thing, it doesn't cost you anything, and start doing that. So as I was sitting here thinking about topics that I wanted to go over, this is one that I didn't have a lot of insight, and then I had a lot of insight into over a couple of years, right? You think you know everything oftentimes or have a good idea going into certain situations. Like, I was going to be a stepdad and what that looked like. I didn't have any kids at the time. I was 35 years old when I got into this relationship, and I had a 2 and 7-year-old, a 7-year-old girl, and 2-year-old boy. And, we talked about the basics of kind of parenting and what the schedule can look like. Is it 2-2-3 or 5-2-2-5? Whatever those kind of, the very common court kind of dictated parenting schedules. And, you're going to have Christmas here and New Year's there and Halloween and the kids and medical records and coaching. It's all that stuff. But some of the things that we didn't cover that I wish I would have covered, earlier on, and that's what I really want to talk about my experience in today, and is how to better set your co-parenting up for success, right? My ex's ex, if you're going to keep up with all the X's in this thing, you might want to get a flow chart so we can keep this all tracked down here. It might be easier for you. Good guy, solid guy. My wife had a drinking problem. It was the reason why they divorced. We met when we both got sober. I had gotten divorced. She had gotten divorced. I didn't have any kids, and we kind of came together like peanut butter and jelly. that eventually went sour. But that's neither here nor there either. We'll cover that part later. No, stop laughing, Robin. So we came together and we're like, okay, you've got 2 kids. I want to be super, super mindful and respectful of them. And I want to make sure that they are taken care of, and as little impact to them as we start a relationship and as they're transitioning out of divorce and things like that as well too. Now, one thing that we did right off the bat is, and again, you don't realize it when you're in the thick of these situations, is we didn't let enough time between her divorce and my divorce to kind of just put a little time and space between it. One of the things that I've been very intentional about now with my dating coming off of this divorce, and I'm a year out from that, is I didn't even date for the first 6 months. And really, even in the last three or 4 months, I've probably started going on dates and things. And what I've found is I needed to really have that time to do the work and process, right? My nature tells me if I'm divorced, I'm single now, you want to get out there into the world, and it's like, but I'm still feeling pain, anger, sadness, like all that stuff that's still kind of going through me. And it's like, oh, I meet a girl at a gym. She's very cute and attracted to me and wants to hang out. And it's like, I let myself go down that for a path for a hot minute. And I was like, oh, holy cow, like I'm not ready for this. Because what I very, very, very quickly saw, it's like I can use emotional intimacy, sex, that feeling of being with someone, that not being lonely, as a way to not address the feelings and the stuff that was going on inside of me. And I said at that moment, that's really what happened to me. I said, I can't do this, right? And I don't want to hurt people that I get into relationships with now. That's a new thing for me. And you go, wow, Steve, you sound like a total jerk. No, and my intention was never that, but I want to be more intentional up front so that I don't mislead anyone into this as well, too. So making sure that you put enough time and space in between previous relationship and this relationship. I don't want to be like some monkey swinging from vine to vine into relationship and just landing where you land without being intentional about it. Things that I'm trying to do this time around, be more picky, selective about who and what. And I not just, wow, that girl is really attractive and I would like to go out with her. What kind of values, morals, integrity, character, all of those things that I think are going to ultimately lead to greater companionship, chemistry going forward. And that's the stuff that I'm trying to vet much more. And like, well, you didn't know that before? I don't think I did, truthfully. I'd go out in Old Town, a mile from here and meet a girl and, 2 years later, like, you've been dating for the whole time. And it's like, did I even mean for this to happen? Like, I'm just here and we're out and you're cute and I'm cute and we're going on vacations and getting drunk. And it's like, there was never any intentionality behind it. So making sure that time, space, being intentional with the person that you want to be with going forward. So that was a couple things that we didn't do early on. We just kind of came right together and, jumped on a ship together and took off. And, I see people do that pattern often. And I get it, man. I would like to do it. I want to do it. Not going to do it because I know where it will land me in that same place. And now I have a daughter. Now I'm a little bit older. And I don't want to just keep repeating the same mistake over again and hoping that there's a different outcome, right? I mean, that's just stupid, right? I mean, we all know that's the definition of insanity, and we're just not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, at least, even though it sounds fun, and then it would be less painful. But you know what? Through pain, I think, comes a lot of growth out of these things as well, too. Now, the next thing that we didn't do, or we did, but we're just wrong, would probably be the better way to put it, is kids first. Now, this is a big one, in my opinion. And this is actually, I think, the one that ultimately led to our kind of demise slowly over the course of 9 years was kids first, right? Kids first, kids first. I want to put the kids first, whatever for the kids first. And it's funny, as I'm going out on some of these dating sites and, things like that and Hinge and blah, 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 it's like, kids first. My kids will always be first. They're the love of my life. My daughter's love of my life too. But one thing that I've learned, and you may not agree with this, and that's fine. Just swipe away. I don't care. I won't lose any sleep over that. But it can't be the kids first. it needs to be the relationship first, right? And the couple needs to be healthy, growing, communicating, working on themselves as a couple, and the byproduct of that will be a much happier, healthier family, and then being able to support those kids in a better way going forward. What we did, and I did this, suggested this, was like, oh, anything we need to do for the kids, I'm willing to do, right? And I took a big step backwards of like, all right, it's you and your ex. You guys need to co-parent, figure stuff out. I'll just kind of be back here, and I'm going with the flow. If the kids need it, like I'm here just to kind of in the background to kind of help and be of support whenever I can. And my intentions were good, and I think all of our intentions were good. And none of what I'm about to describe happened overnight. But what eventually started happening is that the co-parent between the two exes over there started to dictate the course of what was supposed to be my family's life. And as that continued to happen, because kids get busier and schedules and jobs increase and responsibilities and bills and all of those things start to go, is all of a sudden, gradually, I'm looking at quote unquote my family, right? And my family is my wife and, my two stepkids. And we had a great little family there. But it didn't start to feel like a family. It felt like two people who were divorced, who were trying their best to co-manage and co-parent the situation, and we're doing a fine job with it. But I'm stuck over here going, I don't have any say in kind of what's going on in my family's life. And again, I don't blame my ex-wife for that. I really don't. I believe her intentions were altruistic. But I think the design of what we put together is what broke this thing eventually. And then by the time we started to get to it, it was 7, 8 years in. It was like, oh, I think we're beyond kind of being able to right this ship back, right? So, okay, Steve, so what you're saying is relationship first between the parents and the kids are going to be better. Yes. So I just think that there needs to be a greater emphasis on this. And I'll tell you, we weren't doing date nights, right? We didn't go on trips away by ourselves because it was always the kids have a game, the kids have this, the schedule's over there, or he's flipped the schedule, and now we've got to make some adjustments. And those decisions were just made without me. And I wasn't trying to be in every single, parent teacher conference meeting and all that. Like I'm fair with some boundaries there as well too. But when one person's completely shut out and all the decisions about our family are happening outside of the adults, the parents making those decisions within that family, it was setting itself up for ultimate failure. And that's what happened, because I'm now trying to plan trips and try and design schedules for our life and things that we can do as a family. And I'm in constant kind of competition. Really, it wasn't competition. They would win out with their decisions on what they decided to do with the family. And then I just had to go along with that. Well, hey, Steve, you knew you were marrying somebody with kids. Yes, I did. And I'm okay with that. And honestly, like I said, love those kids to this day. And if they called me and needed something, I'd drop what I do and go help them. But there was just a design flaw that I think is a common flaw, that I'm sharing this to say that hopefully some of you hear this, that you're either co-parenting, you're going through divorce, you're a single parent, whatever it is, or you're dating somebody who has a child, or you're going to be in a co-parenting situation. And this is just just letting you know that this kids first thing, I understand the intention, but you may want to explore a better way to do that. I want to help the kids in any way, shape, or form possible, but I do really think that the emphasis needs to be much more on, on the parents. And you'll read a lot of research, or not research, but just articles out there. It's like, always prioritize the needs and best interest of your children above everything. And I'm going, no. I think we need to make sure that mom and dad are good and healthy. And then we need to make sure the kids are healthy as well too. And I just think that needs to be a little more discussed up front, But I don't think this may be a popular opinion, candidly, because everybody is so up in arms and so sensitive around their kids, right? Which I have probably a whole other podcast on kind of, celebrating all the participation trophies and things like that the kids get. But that's neither here nor there. We'll put that off to the side. Now, around co-parenting, um, I do think there needs to be some clear separation as well too, and this is something that I ran into and still run into a little bit in my own life as well too. Is in that relationship, my previous relationship, there was an enmeshment really. It was their family, their divorced family, and our family never really stopped. It was just kind of this nebulous flowing thing, and they're like, "Oh, it's looking great," and I'm going, "No, it's not. I'm miserable over here. I don't have my own family. I married you and these two kids. We don't have our family. You're just kind of intermingling your ex and now his new family into ours. And oh, look at how well it's working. And people say it works great. I don't care what people say, right? I'm not interested in outside opinions. What I'm interested in is my family and the people that I chose to take responsibility for. So I do think that there needs to be some separation and boundaries as to what the co-parenting situation looks like. Otherwise, you could end up with somebody who, like myself, who just feels like they're a third wheel in a relationship between two exes, and that's a really uncomfortable, not fun situation to be in, as well too. So I'm just sharing these things. This is firsthand experience. I'm coming off directly what this looks like. There needs to be a little time and space between the exes and this family. There also needs to be an established routine that's consistent. And this I actually see all the time in my dating life as well too. I am more than happy to date, ladies with kids and things like that. I don't care what the age or any of that. Like I'm totally open to that. What I'm not open to is, oh, we just kind of share the schedule as it works. And, he has them a couple days here and I have them a couple days there. And it's like, no, like I need to know what your schedule looks like. And I need to know the separation between you and your ex. And I need to see that there isn't still lingering drama and things. What I've been amazed at is the lack of kind of schedule that they have set forth, which honestly is going to trap you in terms of trying to date, at least dating what I would think a quality individual, because I would think quality individuals are only going to go so far with just this kind of haphazard parenting plan and parenting schedule that you're putting forth. I mean, how it just makes things very challenging in terms of versus I have them every other day, and then every other weekend, and this is the schedule, and we never change it, right? Occasionally something to pop up, you go out of town, you flip things a little bit, but that's, very few and far between. What I'm seeing so often is just kind of these, kind of thrown together parenting schedules. And as single persons trying to, potentially date or get involved with an individual, it's like, I don't want that. Like, you don't seem like you have all your stuff together. And by the way, many times in those situations, it still seems like there's, I'm not going to say feelings attached to the ex, but there's just drama that's like, oh, well, he threatened this, or he's, lost his job and I got to go out and help. And I'm like, I hear you, but I don't care either. Like, if I'm interested in you, like, and you're still kind of 1 foot over here or one arm over here, like, I'm just not interested in kind of engaging with people. And by the way, this isn't just at ladies. I'm sure there's guys that still have this kind of thing as well too. And I'm just going, you got to have these clear kind of distinctions made. I get flexibility. I am for grace and flexibility as schedules change and people get sick and nannies get sick. Like I get all that. It happens to me all the time. It's like, got a date, want to go out, looking forward to it, and sitter cancels. And it's like, okay, well, you're stuck. I mean, what do you do? And you just got to be able to have some flexibility. You got to be able to compromise, and you got to keep a little grace in this whole thing as well too. But if you don't have these kind of boundaries that are drawn with you and your ex or you and your family and kind of the co-parenting situation, I don't think there's a better word than kind of this enmeshment. And that's what happened in ours. And it was just this nebulous thing of people kind of shifting everywhere. And I think that, my ex and her ex thought, oh, we've got this nailed. And I'm going, yeah, if you two kind of want to pseudo be in an ex relationship together, yeah, you do. You don't have it nailed if you want your husband to be a part of the family that we're trying to create here, right? So, word from the wise on that one. Something that I want to bring up that I think is key, and one thing that I will say, this isn't a whole bash on the ex session here. It's just avoiding the negative talk between parties in co-parenting situations as well. I don't love everything that my ex does. She got immediately into something, and I don't like a lot of some of the decisions and some of the things that she's doing. But you know what I don't do? My daughter doesn't know that, and I'm not going to let her listen to this episode. Not that she wants to, anyways. And I don't want to have the negative talk, kind of going through the child's ears. I don't want them to even hear, even if the exes are disagreeing. I just don't want them to hear that. And in fact, one positive thing I'll even say that my ex did was, last week she had the other kids in the car. I don't get to see them very often. She was like dropping off my daughter at my house and was like, "Do you mind if the other kids come in?" And it made my day, right? It was like, hey, I got to see the kids. They're smiling, we're laughing, they play with the dogs and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's important for, kind of the kids to see, that there's still civility, a relationship there, some kindness that can be, I know things were probably tough in divorce type situations, but I think it's important for them to see some of the good that can come from that thing as well, too. I get it. That could be harder and that may take some time. I mean, look, I'm a year out from mine. That probably wouldn't have played in the first 2 months or something like that. But, if we can avoid kind of negative comments that the kids are picking up on, that they're going to hear. And part of the reason why is too is I don't want them to say something at school, because I'm amazed at what they pick up and all of a sudden get repeated out in public. I'm at the gym or at the school, like, ooh, glad I didn't say that other thing I said because that would not have landed too well. Couple other nuggets just on the co-parenting front is, the discipline and technology, right? Technology is so hard and you can't control what the other parent does. But if you can have some type of, I don't know, just some type of general area where you land on in terms of, hey, I think it's great that she has a tablet, for an hour before bed or something like that. But we don't, I try not to just let her sit on it for 6 hours or something like that, or play video games or whatever it is. If you can get in the same vicinity on some of that stuff, I think it would make it easier from a co-parenting perspective, because the kids are going to come over and say, well, daddy does this and mommy does this and she lets me do this and he lets me do that. That's going to happen. So let's just face facts and accept that you will hear that comment. We did hear that comment in the other world. And also understand that comment's going to hurt, right? That comment's going to hurt, that you may be perceived as the mean one. Understand that that is a child, that they're still adjusting to these situations as well, too. Try not to take that comment too personally, even though it will suck when you hear it. But things like, hey, that's fine that you do that at mommy's house, but at daddy's house, we're doing this, right? And just kind of gently be able to redirect that as well, too. So just keep those things in mind. If you're able to agree on any type of, discipline along with the technology as well, whether it's timeouts and saying please and thank you and having good manners, I think all that stuff's important. Again, a little bit of being on the same page, I think it's just going to help with parenting overall. So just those little things to kind of keep in mind as you're going through this. I think one of the biggest things, for me is, when, we have 50-50 custody now, right, as co-parents. And when you do have that 50% of really making an effort to be present and engaged, right? Be super mindful of the amount of time you're spending on your phone or the emails or work calls and what they're seeing, and making sure that you've got 50% of the time with this person now, right? Are you making the most of that 50% of the time? And are you making sure that you are present with them and that you are doing the things that you need to do? Look, we all have to take work calls and go to appointments and run errands and things like that. But are you present when your child is there with you? They pick up on way more than we realize, and having those little times with them at night and just making sure that you're connecting with them, giving them the opportunity to ask questions. At night, we have a little routine. We say our prayers, we talk about the day, and then we'll kind of cuddle before she goes to sleep. And then that's kind of that. Making sure that you're present, creating some of those types of routines and getting the stuffies, and just so that if they have a house here and a house here, that they both feel like a home to your little one as well, too. Those are some of the most important things that I've experienced in kind of this co-parenting world and what that can look like. And I will say, like, in my, not to pat myself on the back, we're doing a pretty good job of it, right? We're doing a pretty good job of it. And I think the proof is in the pudding in terms of having a great child who's well adjusted and friends and doing well. And by the way, if it's not going well and you are seeing some bumps in the road, reach out to get some professional support as well. If it's not me at the Unlicensed Counselor, go reach out to your therapist, psychologist. If you're seeing behavior issues, those are something different. But if you think they're just kind of, acting out because of divorce and things like that, and the transitions and the changes that go along with that, maybe get some professional help and see if you can help smooth out some of that stuff as well, too. And do it sooner rather than later. Do it sooner rather than later as well, too. Well, just a couple little nuggets on co-parenting, what it could look like, some do's and don'ts. Look, I did a lot of do's, and now I got a lot of don'ts for you. Hopefully that provides some value, as I always like to say. If it did, hit those 3 little dots. Send this to somebody who is a co-parent, may become a co-parent, is going through divorce and will soon be a co-parent, or maybe is dating someone and will be, whatever that looks like. Hit those 3 little dots, send this episode to them. It may give them a couple thoughts around, maybe just stir up the questions to ask that person as they're getting ready to walk into this. Not all of these things are top of mind as you're sitting here getting ready to jump into a new relationship. So, cool. Well, stay cool in hot weather out here from Scottsdale, Arizona. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor. Until next time, thank you very much.